luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer by their appearance. So, when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership dressed in a hoodie and cap, she didn't even give her a second glance. She dismissed her instantly, assuming she wasn't worth her time. But what she didn't know was that she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. Moments later, when Keanu Reeves walked in, he did something that left everyone in the dealership absolutely speechless. And trust me, you won't believe how this story unfolds. What happened next turned into a scandal no one saw coming. Before we dive into this shocking turn of events, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love stories like this, make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow, we have another incredible one just for you. Now, picture this: the parking lot of a luxury car dealership gleams under the sun, lined with high-end vehicles that look like works of art. The glass facade of the showroom reflects the clear sky as a discreet SUV rolls into a parking spot near the entrance. The door opens, and out steps a woman, dressed casually in a blue hoodie and a black cap. She moves with quiet confidence, adjusts her sunglasses, and makes her way inside. The scent of brand new leather fills the air, and the cars shimmer under the showroom lights. Salespeople, dressed in tailored suits, glide between high-profile clients, offering them the kind of personalized service reserved only for the elite. Sandra Bullock walks in, her eyes scanning the showroom with genuine interest. But nobody notices her. In this world, appearances are everything. At the service desk, a saleswoman in polished heels surveys the room, picking out the most promising clients. Her gaze briefly lands on Sandra, but just as quickly, she dismisses her, flashing a rehearsed smile before turning her attention to a couple dressed head to toe in designer brands. Sandra, unfazed, strolls between the luxury cars, running her fingers over the smooth surfaces, admiring the craftsmanship. Then, she spots it, a stunning convertible. White leather seats, sleek design, a dashboard that screams sophistication. She steps closer, her fingers grazing the handle, but no salesperson rushes over to assist her. After a few moments, she approaches the service desk. The same saleswoman from earlier has just finished chatting with the wealthy couple when she notices Sandra walking toward her. Her expression shifts, polite, but distant. "Can I help you?" she asks, adjusting her name tag. Sandra nods toward the convertible. "I like that model. Is it available?" The saleswoman glances at the car, then back at Sandra. A small, almost imperceptible smirk tugs at the corners of her lips. But in her eyes? Judgment. "Oh, that's one of our most exclusive models," she says smoothly. "It comes with a premium package. Maybe I can show you some more affordable options." Sandra's face remains neutral. "I'm really interested in this one. I'd like to know more about it." The saleswoman hesitates, as if debating whether Sandra is even worth her time. Finally, she sighs softly. "All right, I can show you the specifications. But just so you know, this model comes at quite a high price." Sandra smiles slightly. "That's fine. I'd still like to learn more." The saleswoman swallows hard, clearly second-guessing herself. She starts explaining the car's features, engine performance, interior materials, customization options. With each question Sandra asks, the saleswoman's surprise grows. "You seem to know a lot about cars," she finally says, struggling to hide her astonishment. Sandra shrugs. "I like to know what I'm buying." The saleswoman forces a smile. "Well, this model offers exceptional drivability, but of course, it's a car designed for a very specific clientele." Sandra says nothing. Instead, she runs her fingers over the leather steering wheel, feeling its smooth texture. "Sounds great. Is it available for a test drive?" The saleswoman lets out a short, awkward laugh, as if she didn't hear her correctly. "A test drive?" "Yes," Sandra says, unfazed. "I'd like to see how it handles on the road." The saleswoman hesitates. "Normally, we only allow test drives for clients with serious purchasing intentions." Sandra raises an eyebrow. "And I don't seem serious." The woman backtracks. "Oh, that's not what I meant. It's just that this model is in very high demand, so we have to be selective. Sandra studies her for a moment, watching as the saleswoman tries to mask her initial judgment. Then, finally, she smiles slightly. That's fine. Just put me on the list of interested buyers. The saleswoman looks relieved, but before she can respond, a deep, unmistakable voice cuts through the air. Excuse me, do you have this model? The room turns silent. Every head in the showroom swivels toward the entrance. And there, standing casually by the door, is Keanu Reeves. What happens next? Well, let's just say, no one saw it coming. A luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer just by their appearance. So, when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership dressed in a hoodie and cap, she dismissed her without hesitation. No second glance. No offer of assistance. Just an assumption, one that would turn out to be the biggest mistake of her career. But what she didn't know was that her judgment was about to cost her more than just a sale. Because moments later, when Keanu Reeves walked in, everything changed. And trust me, you won't believe how this story unfolds. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow, we have another incredible one for you. Now, let's step inside the showroom. The dealership radiates opulence. Polished luxury cars glisten under the showroom lights. Well-dressed men with expensive watches and women in designer outfits move effortlessly through the space, attended to with the kind of service only reserved for the elite. Sandra Bullock, however, is invisible. She walks among the vehicles, her fingers brushing against the fine leather interiors, her eyes scanning the details of each model. When she finds a convertible that catches her interest, she steps closer, admiring the sleek design. But still, no one comes to assist her. So, she takes the first step. She approaches the service desk just as the same saleswoman, who had so easily dismissed her earlier, finishes chatting with a wealthy couple. "Can I help you?" The saleswoman asks, her tone polite but detached. Sandra gestures toward the convertible. "I like that model. Is it available?" The saleswoman's lips twitch in an almost imperceptible smirk. "Oh, that's one of our most exclusive models. It comes with a premium package. Maybe I can show you something more, in your price range?" Sandra keeps her expression neutral. "I'm interested in this one. I'd like to take it for a test drive." The saleswoman hesitates. Then, with a subtle laugh, she responds, "A test drive? Well, normally, we only allow test drives for serious buyers." "And I don't seem serious?" Sandra asks calmly. Before the saleswoman can answer, a well-dressed man steps into the conversation. His hair is neatly styled, an expensive watch gleams on his wrist. "Is this model available for a test drive?" he asks. And just like that, the saleswoman transforms. Her smile becomes genuine. Her voice, suddenly warm and enthusiastic. "Of course, sir. I can arrange that for you right away." Sandra watches the entire exchange in silence. She doesn't react, doesn't argue, she just observes. The shift in treatment is undeniable. The same woman who dismissed her without a second thought is now bending over backward for someone else, someone who, based on appearance alone, fits her idea of a real customer. Sandra slides her hands into the pockets of her hoodie, tilts her head slightly, and murmurs under her breath, "I guess that makes things pretty clear, doesn't it?" She turns to leave. But before she walks out, she casts one last look at the convertible. If anything, her interest in the car has only grown stronger. And what the saleswoman doesn't realize yet is that she's about to find out exactly who she just underestimated. Sandra remains near the luxury convertible, running her fingers over its sleek curves. A moment later, the saleswoman returns, this time with a forced smile and an unmistakable air of condescension. "So, are you still interested in this model?" she asks, her tone dripping with disbelief. Sandra meets her gaze. "Yes. I'd like to take it for a test drive." The saleswoman raises an eyebrow. A test drive, she repeats, as if Sandra just asked for something absurd. Yes, Sandra says again, unbothered. I want to see how it handles on the road before making a decision. The saleswoman lets out a small, amused laugh. Oh, so you actually want to drive this car? Sandra doesn't react. Yes. The saleswoman crosses her arms, her fake smile now completely gone. Look, I don't know if I made this clear, but this model isn't for just anyone. We don't let just anyone test drive it. This time, there's no subtlety. It's an outright insult. Sandra repeats her words slowly. Just anyone? The saleswoman tilts her head slightly. Yes. This is one of our most expensive models. People who test drive it are usually pre-approved customers or have an established relationship with our brand. Sandra takes a slow step forward, her gaze steady. So only pre-approved customers can test it? Exactly, the saleswoman confirms, clearly satisfied with herself. Sandra glances toward the well-dressed man who had just been given a test drive without question. She gestures subtly in his direction. But that guy over there, he doesn't look like a long-time customer. The saleswoman doesn't even look. Oh, he fits the profile, she says dismissively. We can tell he's a qualified buyer. Sandra exhales a quiet chuckle. And my profile isn't qualified? The saleswoman finally drops the act. Look, don't take it personally. We get a lot of people who just want to take pictures, post online, and pretend they're buying a luxury car. I'm sure you understand what I mean. Sandra notices several customers and employees beginning to pay attention, but the saleswoman doesn't care. Honestly, she continues, her voice oozing fake sympathy, I think you should consider another car. We have an amazing selection of models that might better suit your lifestyle. Sandra remains composed. And what lifestyle would that be? The saleswoman lets her gaze drift obviously to Sandra's casual hoodie and cap. Something more affordable, she says. This time, it's not just a suggestion, it's a dismissal. The insult couldn't be clearer. Sandra doesn't flinch. She crosses her arms, tilts her head slightly. So you're saying you won't let me test drive the car? The saleswoman smirks, fully enjoying herself now. That's exactly what I'm saying. A hush falls over the room. Employees exchange glances. Some realize the saleswoman may have just gone too far. But she doesn't back down. Now, with a final look of smug satisfaction, she turns her back on Sandra. No hesitation. No second thought. She walks toward another wealthy-looking couple and greets them with warmth and enthusiasm. The difference in treatment couldn't be more obvious. Sandra stays in place for a moment, feeling the weight of several curious eyes watching her. But her face remains calm. She has seen enough. Before leaving, Sandra walks up to the reception desk, where another salesman watches her, looking slightly uneasy. Is there a problem, ma'am? He asks hesitantly. Sandra smiles. I just want to confirm something. What happens next? Well, let's just say, the saleswoman is about to learn a lesson she'll never forget. If you don't want to miss the shocking twist that's coming, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Because trust me, this story is far from over. A luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer by their appearance. So, when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership wearing a hoodie and cap, she dismissed her instantly. No questions. No interest. Just a silent assumption that she wasn't worth her time. But what she didn't know was that her arrogance was about to cost her more than just a commission, because the moment Keanu Reeves walked through those doors, everything changed. And trust me, you won't believe how this story unfolds. Before we continue, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, we've got another incredible one coming your way. Now, let's step inside the dealership. The atmosphere is refined, exclusive. Luxury cars gleam under the pristine showroom lights. Well-dressed clients strolled between the vehicles, their presence alone earning them eager attention from the sales team. The scent of polished leather and fresh upholstery lingers in the air. Sandra Bullock stands unnoticed, despite her genuine interest in the cars around her. She inspects a sleek convertible, taking in its flawless design. But still, no one approaches her. So, she takes the initiative. She walks to the reception desk, where a hesitant salesman greets her. "What's the official requirement for a test drive?" she asks calmly. The salesman shifts uncomfortably. "Well, usually, we require proof that the client has a serious interest in purchasing." Sandra nods. "Proof like what?" The man hesitates. "A document, a history of past purchases, or a down payment to reserve the car." Sandra absorbs the information, her expression unreadable. Then, she gestures toward a well-dressed couple speaking with another salesperson. "And did the saleswoman mention any of that to them?" Silence. The salesman's face tightens. He realizes she's right. But before he can answer, the saleswoman storms back into the conversation, her tone sharp and dismissive. "Ma'am, I already explained our policy. Let's not waste any more time." Sandra meets her gaze, completely unfazed. The saleswoman crosses her arms, delivering one last vicious remark. "But if you're really looking for a car, maybe you should try another place. There's a dealership downtown that sells models more, within your reach. I think you'd like it." A smug smile stretches across her lips, as if she's doing Sandra a favor. Sandra simply smiles back. "Thanks for the suggestion." And with that, she turns and walks toward the exit. But just before leaving, she stops. She casts one last glance at the convertible. Her interest hasn't faded. If anything, it's grown stronger. Only now, she has something else in mind. She has a plan. The saleswoman, still basking in her misplaced confidence, shifts her focus back to her wealthy clients. But then, something changes. The automatic doors of the dealership slide open again. A subtle shift in the air. A presence. A tall man in a black leather jacket strides in with calm but purposeful steps. His tousled dark hair moves slightly as he walks, sunglasses resting on his face. He doesn't need to say a word, his presence alone commands attention. The saleswoman, mid-conversation, glances absent-mindedly toward the entrance. And then she freezes. Because the man just stopped in the middle of the showroom. His gaze sweeps across the room and lands on Sandra. Then, with an easy, natural smile, he speaks. "Hope I didn't keep you waiting too long, Bullock." It was like a bomb had just detonated, only in slow motion. Bullock. The name hit the saleswoman like a thunderclap. The blood drained from her face. Her eyes widened in pure horror. The woman in the blue hoodie and black cap, the one she had humiliated, the one she had refused to serve, was Sandra Bullock. The next few seconds stretched into eternity. Customers whispered. Employees exchanged stunned glances. The entire dealership realized, all at once, that she had made a catastrophic mistake. Sandra, however, wasn't surprised at all. She smirked slightly, watching the reality sink in for the woman who had dismissed her so easily. Keanu, still oblivious to the tension, grinned warmly as he approached Sandra. "Good to see you, Bullock. Did you pick out your car?" The saleswoman's stomach dropped. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. Should she explain? Should she pretend nothing happened? Should she just collapse from sheer embarrassment? Keanu finally noticed the heavy silence in the dealership. His brows furrowed as he looked around. "What's up? Why does everyone look so tense?" Sandra turned her gaze to the saleswoman, who now looked as pale as a ghost. "I think someone just realized," she said smoothly, "that they made the worst mistake of their life." The saleswoman gulped. Keanu followed Sandra's gaze and finally noticed the woman trembling with nerves. He blinked, confused. "Do you work here?" The woman forced a nervous smile. Yes, Mr. Reeves. Welcome. It's such an honor to have you here. The shift in her tone was so extreme, even the other employees cringed. Sandra wasn't about to let her off the hook. Funny, she said, tilting her head slightly. Now I seem to have the right profile to be served, huh? The saleswoman held her breath. She was trapped. By now, everyone in the store understood exactly what had happened. Employees stepped away discreetly, leaving the saleswoman to face the consequences alone. Keanu felt the tension in the air. His expression turned curious. What's going on here? The saleswoman's face glistened with sweat. And nothing. Just a little misunderstanding, Mr. Reeves. She let out a forced, nervous laugh. Sandra raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding? She took a slow, deliberate step forward. And in that moment, the saleswoman knew there was no getting out of this. The question is, how will Sandra handle the situation? And what happens next that leaves everyone in the dealership absolutely speechless? If you don't want to miss the shocking twist that follows, hit that subscribe button right now. Because trust me, this story is far from over. She thought she could judge Sandra Bullock until Keanu Reeves walked in. A luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer just by their appearance. So, when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership wearing a hoodie and cap, she dismissed her instantly. No interest. No service. Just pure arrogance. But what she didn't know, she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. Because the moment Keanu Reeves walked in, everything changed. And what happens next? You won't believe how this story unfolds. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, we've got another incredible one for you. The moment everything changed. The dealership was still buzzing with business. Luxury cars gleamed under the showroom lights, and salespeople eagerly attended to their wealthiest clients. Sandra Bullock, however, stood there, completely ignored. Keanu had just arrived. His casual confidence shifted the entire energy in the room. And when he locked eyes with Sandra, he gave her a laid-back smile. Hope I didn't keep you waiting too long, Bullock. And that was the moment the saleswoman realized she had just destroyed herself. Her face drained of color. Her mind raced. Sandra Bullock? The woman she had belittled, ignored, and humiliated was Sandra Bullock. The entire room seemed to freeze. Customers whispered. Employees exchanged stunned glances. The realization hit like a ton of bricks. She had made a catastrophic mistake. Keanu, still unaware, looked between them, confused. Wait, you refuse to serve Sandra? The saleswoman stammered, her voice cracking. And no. Yes. I just didn't know she was. Sandra smirked, arms crossed. Rich, she finished for her. The saleswoman shut her eyes, feeling the sting of that single word. Keanu sighed and ran a hand down his face. This still happens? Sandra tilted her head, looking the saleswoman straight in the eye. So tell me, she said, her voice like ice. Can I take the test drive now? The saleswoman almost choked on her own breath. Of course. We can arrange that right now. Sandra raised an eyebrow. Oh, now I can. The woman nodded frantically, desperately trying to salvage the situation. Sandra simply smiled. No thanks. I'm not interested anymore. The saleswoman's face fell apart. What? She gasped. Sandra's smile only widened. I prefer to buy from people who treat me well from the start. The woman's expression twisted into pure despair. She tried to fix it, but there was nothing left to say. Sandra turned to Keanu with a shrug. Shall we go? Keanu let out a low chuckle and shook his head. Absolutely. The saleswoman stood there, frozen, as they walked toward the exit. But just before reaching the doors, Sandra paused. She turned back one last time, flashing the sharpest smirk. "Oh, and thanks for the suggestion about that cheaper dealership." She leaned in slightly. "But I think I'll just buy straight from the manufacturer instead." The final crushing blow. The saleswoman felt her entire world collapse. And just like that, Sandra and Keanu walked out, leaving the showroom in absolute silence. The fallout. The dealership was in shock. Customers whispered. Employees exchanged nervous glances. And at the center of it all, the saleswoman stood paralyzed, still trying to process the disaster she had just created. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from pure shame, regret, and absolute fear of what came next. Then, Keanu stopped walking. Right in front of the exit. He didn't leave. Instead, he turned back around, his expression serious. And when he fixed his intense gaze on the saleswoman, she swallowed hard. Sandra paused beside him, sensing what was about to happen. Keanu slipped his hands into his jacket pockets, his voice calm, but carrying an unbearable weight. "So, is someone going to tell me what the hell just happened here?" The room fell into a dead silence. The saleswoman opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then, realizing she was about to lose her job on the spot, she went into full panic mode. "Mr. Reeves. Ms. Bullock. Please, let me fix this. I can offer you a special discount." Sandra raised an eyebrow. "A discount?" The woman nodded frantically. "Yes. As an apology. A VIP discount." Sandra turned to Keanu with an amused look. "What do you think, Keanu? Should we accept the VIP discount?" Keanu crossed his arms, pretending to think. I'm debating. Do we take the discount, or do we go to another dealership and make sure everyone hears about this story?" The saleswoman visibly shrank. Keanu then turned to the manager, his tone serious. "My advice? Teach your employees not to judge customers by their appearance." The manager nodded quickly, sweating bullets. Keanu gave a satisfied smirk. "Good luck with the online reviews." And with that, he and Sandra turned and walked out the dealership doors without looking back. The saleswoman stood there, crushed, feeling the full weight of her mistake burying her. The aftermath. As the automatic doors slid shut, leaving the dealership in complete silence, the saleswoman remained standing in the same spot. Humiliated. Disgraced. Completely exposed. Employees avoided making eye contact, but the whispers of customers gossiping about the scene made her face burn with shame. Then, the manager's voice cut through the tension. "My office. Now." Her stomach twisted. She obeyed without question. Inside the manager's office, the air was suffocating. The door slammed shut, and the manager glared at her, unforgiving. "Do you have any idea how badly you just screwed up?" She kept her head down. The manager slammed his palm on the desk. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." She flinched, lifting her eyes, filled with panic. "We just lost two of the most influential customers in the world." He took a deep breath. But nothing could fix what had already been done. The lesson? Never judge a customer by their appearance. Because you never know who might walk through those doors next. What do you think? Did the saleswoman deserve a second chance? Or was it too late? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, we've got another incredible one coming your way. She judged Sandra Bullock, then Keanu Reeves walked in. What happened next shocked the world. A luxury car saleswoman thought she could judge a customer by their appearance. So, when Sandra Bullock walked into the dealership dressed in a hoodie and cap, she dismissed her instantly. No greeting. No service. No second glance. But what she didn't know, she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. Because moments later, Keanu Reeves walked through those doors. And everything changed. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow, we've got another unbelievable one for you. The fallout begins. The manager sat in his office, rubbing his face, struggling to contain his frustration. Do you have any idea what you've done? The saleswoman remained silent, anxiety skyrocketing. With a sharp motion, the manager grabbed a tablet and threw it onto the desk. On the screen, a flood of headlines already taking over the internet. Loudspeaker Sandra Bullock humiliated at luxury dealership. Loudspeaker Keanu Reeves exposes discriminatory treatment. Loudspeaker saleswoman denies Sandra Bullock a test drive. Loudspeaker dealership faces online boycott. Loudspeaker Keanu Reeves destroys arrogant saleswoman. Each headline felt like a gut punch. The manager leaned in, voice low but filled with fury. Our ratings have plummeted. Social media is eating us alive. And guess who's going to take the fall for this? The saleswoman felt the blood drained from her face. Please, sir, let me fix this, she stammered. The manager laughed coldly. Fix it? How? He scoffed. You think you can just apologize and everything will be fine? The saleswoman didn't know what to say. The manager let the silence stretch, then sighed heavily. I should fire you right now. Her heart stopped. But then, to her shock, he didn't say the final words. Maybe there's still a chance. The saleswoman blinked. What? The manager crossed his arms. I want you to redeem yourself. Not to save your job, but because you need to learn a lesson. He pointed toward the door. You're going to go out there and apologize to Sandra Bullock. Genuinely. Her heart pounded. And if I do, she asked hesitantly. The manager's gaze hardened. Then maybe I'll consider not firing you. She nodded quickly and rushed out before he could change his mind. But now, she had a problem. How the hell was she supposed to apologize to Sandra Bullock? The apology she never thought she'd have to make. The saleswoman's palms were sweaty as she approached Sandra, who sat at a nearby cafe, sipping coffee. Swallowing her pride, she forced herself to speak. I just wanted to apologize. Sandra raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The saleswoman gulped. I know I was arrogant, judgmental, unfair. And I have no excuse. I messed up. Badly. Sandra tilted her head, studying the woman in front of her. You want me to accept your apology? The saleswoman nodded quickly. Not for my job, she added. I know that's already lost. I just want you to know that I genuinely regret what I did. A long silence. Then, to the saleswoman's surprise, Sandra gave a small smile. You know, I've dealt with a lot of people like you. The saleswoman lowered her head, ashamed. But, Sandra continued, not many have the courage to admit when they're wrong. The saleswoman looked up, shocked. Sandra took another sip of her coffee and placed the cup back on the table. So, you're sorry. Great. Now the real question is, what are you going to do with that? The saleswoman frowned. What do you mean? Sandra smirked knowingly. Being sorry is easy. Changing is hard. The words hit deep. The saleswoman fell silent, reflecting. Then, finally, she responded. I'm going to prove that I've learned. Sandra nodded, satisfied. Then I accept your apology. The saleswoman exhaled in relief. Thank you. Really? Sandra stood up, picked up her coffee, and winked. Good luck with that. And with that, she walked away, leaving the saleswoman standing there, wondering if she would ever get a second chance. 1 week later. A second chance? The fallout from the scandal was still fresh. The dealership took a massive hit. Negative reviews flooded in. The scandal made headlines for days. Loyal customers? They questioned whether they wanted to shop there again. And the saleswoman? She was still employed. Barely. The manager had allowed her to stay, but on one condition. You either prove you've changed, or you're out. No second chances. And today? That one shot was about to come. She had been serving a new customer all day. Attentive. Respectful. Fair. The deal was finalized. The car was sold. The manager had been watching from a distance. Arms crossed. Observing everything. As the customer left, the saleswoman turned to face him. A long, tense silence. Then, the manager smirked. Not bad. The saleswoman let out a breathless chuckle. Thanks. The manager nodded. Looks like you actually learned something. She grinned. Yeah, I think I did. And for the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. Because she hadn't just saved her job. She had saved herself. A message from Sandra Bullock. That night, after work, the saleswoman checked her phone. A notification popped up. A new review for the dealership. She clicked on it, curious. The username? Sandra Bullock. Her breath caught as she read the comment. Sometimes the best lessons come from the worst mistakes. I hope they stick. The saleswoman smiled to herself. She had no idea if Sandra truly forgave her. But one thing was certain. She had been given a second chance. And this time, she wasn't going to waste it. What happens next? The dealership received a surprisingly powerful online review from Sandra. Will this change the company's future? And will the saleswoman stay true to her new path? What do you think? Did she deserve a second chance? Or was it too late? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible one for you.